Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. In this video I'd like to give you a quick update on how my two chilli plants are doing. So I do these updates every few months when there's been a big change in how the chillies are doing. I think I've done about 6 or 7 now. It is currently the 18th of June at the moment. So I've got the two chillies. I've got this one here which is a Capsicum annum, just your normal chilli. And I've got this here which is a Capsicum chinensis, or chinense I think, and that's a chilli in the habanero family which has the really hot spicy chilies, and the variety is paper lantern for that one. And this one I'm not sure what the variety is because it had a very non-descriptive title on the card. So basically just like a normal chilli, but I'm not sure, probably a piri piri chilli style because it's got the same kind of small red chilies and they're very spicy. So these are both perennial now. They've been going on for more than 1 year. So this one here is a year and a bit old. This one here is two and a bit years old. This one I bought from the garden centre where I used to work as a small plant. This one here got from the same garden centre but as a packet of seeds, and I've grown it from seed. So I'll start with the normal one, the Capsicum annum. So last time I showed you it was putting on lots of nice new growth. I had repotted it. Well, I hadn't repotted it, I'd refreshed the compost by cutting half of it off, and it was putting on lots of new growth and lots of flowers and doing really well, looking healthy. Well, you can see it's got a really good bumper crop of chilies, lots and lots of red chilies. This is good. I've already been harvesting a few. I've probably used about 3 or 4 so far this year. So it's done really well. It's also got a few green ones which are still ripening up, but I'm pretty happy with that. It's probably the earliest heavy crop of chilies I've ever had, so keeping it perennial has been pretty good actually. I could have had another one, bought a new one this time a few months ago. I could have bought a new young plant instead of trying to overwinter this, but it means I've had a heavy crop. Because in June normally a plant that you bought from the shop that's quite young, just not even a year old yet, you will have a good crop like this, but it won't be until July and August. So it's already, so once it's finished its flowered, what it did is it had loads of these fruits which were ripening up. And whilst the fruit was ripening, it didn't put on any growth, only was ripening up the fruit, because all the energy from the plant was going to that. But now that all the fruit is red, I've noticed there's lots of new growth coming on all these shoots. Try and get you a close up here. And all the new growth has got a lot of flower buds coming on it as well. So it's looking pretty good. You can see there on the end, there's an old flower bud and it's already starting to fatten up. That would be a next new chilli. And you can see here's another one that's a little chilli starting to form. So it's going to have a lot of flowers soon. It should be covered in flowers, and I'll soon start using a lot more of these chillies in my cooking. So the plant will then divert all its energy into flowers again, and I'll have another crop. It seems to do this chilli. It goes in stages, has a big crop of chillies. Then once I use them all up, it then grows a little bit, flowers lots, and then puts all of its energy back into chillies again, and doesn't grow. So there we are, that's how that one's doing really well. The leaves have a little bit of damage. I think maybe it was a bit too much sunshine. Did have a bit of thrips for a while, but I rinsed that with the shower. Seems to get rid of the thrips. I'm happy with that. And I'll just show you the roots quickly, just to show you how well cutting off half the compost and putting fresh in the bottom has worked. So here's the compost. You can see that slightly darker line there is the new compost, and the lighter line is the older compost. Kind of hard to show you, but hopefully it's showing up in the camera. You can see there's quite a lot of new roots on the bottom, and that's all this year's growth. And you can see the very bottom there, lots of nice healthy leaves. Roots have going through that compost. So it's done quite well. Put lots of roots through. Can't really tell the difference between the old and the new now. And I'll show you my chinense one as well. And I'll show you first of all I'll show you the roots to compare them with this one. So it feels like it's grown quite a bit. So there we are. This one is much more difficult. I think the line is probably here though. I didn't take off as much with this one by the looks of things. But with this one, actually the results are much more impressive. You can see how much more root growth there is on the lower section here than there is on the top section, because that's where the new fresh compost is, with much better, which is much better for it. So you can see on the bottom as well, really good root growth. So it should be a really nice healthy plant. But unfortunately this is the chilli which I've always had a problem with. It's always gone through this growth phase of growing lots of leaves, looking really healthy, putting on lots of flowers. I'm thinking about to get a good crop, and then most of the flowers fall off. It doesn't seem to get pollinated properly. So as you can see here, I've only got 2 at the moment. I've got this one here which is almost ripe, and I've got this one here which is still ripening up. And then what happens is that your leaves start going yellow and blotchy, a bit like this one here. And then all the leaves fall off pretty much until you're left with a state like this where it has almost no leaves. You think, oh no, maybe my plant's going to die. And the next thing this plant starts doing is putting on lots of healthy new growth. You get all this nice healthy lush growth like this, you can see at the end here. See there's a bit more there as well. And within a few weeks this will be completely covered in green leaves again and flowering away nice and happy as if nothing was ever wrong with it. So that's the cycle it goes through. As I said before, I can't figure out the problem. If anyone knows what the problem is, please put a link in the, please put a comment in the comment box, because I have no idea what's wrong with it. I've tried different feeds. I thought maybe it was magnesium deficiency. Put a feed that was really high in just magnesium, not much else. That didn't seem to do anything. I tried quite a few different feeds before that as well. I've changed the compost. I've looked for diseases. Can't see any disease. That's too obvious anyway. And it has had thrips once or twice, but it doesn't have any thrips at the moment. So I don't know what the problem is, but it's been like that ever since it was a seedling, and it's always been a little bit slow growing as well. But I know the capsicum chilies are slower growing than the other ones. So that's how it's doing. You can see it's quite old. It's getting quite a thick trunk on that now. And since I pruned it, it has put on quite a lot of growth. I think the last time I showed it, it was probably in the middle of its growth spurt. So you can see from here all the way to the end, that's how much it's grown since they gave it the prune back in late winter. So it has done okay, but as I said, it never grows any fruit very well, and it doesn't really give me a very good crop of chilies. So really I should probably throw it out and give up with it, because I've got this one here which just does so well with chilies and gives me such a good crop. And these chilies are always reliable, always nice and hot and spicy. Whereas these chilies are supposed to be some of the hottest ones in the world, probably about 5th or 10th on the scale, with a few above it, but there's not that many above it. I can't remember how many it is on the Scoville scale, but it's up in the hundreds of thousands, I think. Maybe not quite a million, but hundreds of thousands. Hotter than a habanero anyway, a lot hotter than that. And I think it's possibly hotter than a Scots bonnet, but I'm not sure. But the heat is very unreliable. You could have one, you could eat it, it would just be like a mild pepper, you would barely notice the spice. And you can have other ones which will absolutely blow your head off. So it's not reliable enough to cook with, because I don't know how much I need to make the dish a little bit spicy. I might put loads in, not spicy at all, but they could be that one chili which just makes the dish uneatable because it's just too hot. But the reason I'm keeping this is because I've got kind of attached to it. It's the first chili I've grown from seed, and it's also the first chili I've ever overwintered and kept going. I've now done it with 2 chilies, so I know the future this one will work really well, and I'll keep this going for years hopefully. This one, as I say, I've become attached to it because it's the first one I've overwintered, the first one I grew from seed, so I'll probably keep this going for years as well, see how many years it will survive for. And I say, if anyone can tell me why it would go for this cycle of losing its leaves every time, it would be helpful. So that's all for now. As I say, I thought it might have been the root to shoot ratio as well with this, because when it seems to get to a certain size, it does seem to drop all its leaves and stuff, and that's why I prune it heavily to encourage the new growth, so that it will hopefully have lots of roots compared with the shoots and it will not lose all the leaves. But that hasn't seemed to have worked too well. Maybe I should prune it again hard, I'm not sure. It has got quite big for the size of the pot again, but it always just seems to go really fast and then kind of overstretch itself, I'm not sure. So I might prune it back hard again. I say I need to decide what to do with this plant. But that's the chili update for now, and I'll give you another update in maybe a month or two when the next stage of growth is happening again.